I cruise through the now cashless, employeeless Bay Bridge Toll Plaza and roll into the city of San Francisco to start vlog 130. You'll learn the real reason why I made this trip coming up at the end of the vlog. My buddy B and I arrive at Lucky Chance's just south of the city at 11 a.m. on a Friday morning and jump into 3-5 no limit with no $2 on the button. I buy in for $1,000, which was being played most of the time with a winner's straddle in effect, and not a true Mississippi format like the Oaks had, which I found extremely annoying. Though I found this one annoying in and of itself, given the fact that it often skipped the straddle in weird ways. Anyway, the standard for the straddle is the sleeper at the Peppermill. That's the right way to do it. Everyone else, I feel, does it the wrong way. Also, I find it really stupid that the $100 chips and the $1 chips are the same color. They're both white. One is just a lot fancier. And of course, the rake is just brutal in California with the flat drop and $2 just to chop the blinds, as well as $2 most hands for the jackpot. First hand comes when you get an under-the-gun limp, and I have pocket nines plus 1 and make it 30. MP calls, and the big blind 3-bets to 130. Playing 1K effective, I decided to go ahead and make this call because I assumed the other guy would too, and he does. So with 390 in, the flop is about as bad as I can ask for, and the big blind takes it down with a bet. Then with the straddle on, the cutoff just calls the 10. And again, I'm dealt 2 nines, this time in the big blind. I try to take the pot down with a squeeze here. Doesn't work, as the cutoff, who just called that 10 as I mentioned, now back raises all in for 225. I figured that with the money already in and the strength of my hand, made this a call, even though I didn't love it. So we have a $460 pot. And this is one part about cash game poker that I hate. If you ask me, all all-ins should be shown, period. Tournaments have the right idea. I'm asking this dude, who I called, to turn them up, and he won't do it. The board runs out, as you can see. Now, like most poker players in the Bay Area, English is not his first language. And he says, "King." And he's trying to get me to show. Even though I call him, I turn over the nines. And he doesn't turn over a king. He turns over 2 of them. Now, not the end of the world, I know, but it's just annoying regardless. My goal is not to rip this dude. It's just to point out that requiring the cards turned up, I feel would be better. It's also something that I feel the other players in the game deserve to be able to see, given the amount of rake that they pay all day long in these cash games. It would also just make things more exciting. I did make $50 back from him bluff catching with a pair of 3s to his 1/6 pot-sized river bluff about 20 minutes later. I then changed seats and played a series of very non-interesting hands that involved me picking up a number of premium starting hands and simply never having any of them wind up being the best hand at the end. Now, a couple of them may have been misplayed, I acknowledge that, but who knows? I was definitely struggling to get a feel for some of these players. I then lost a hand when I rivered a 9-high flush and was up against a queen-high version. So after 2.5 hours of play, I'm down 800. Then I get a spark when under-the-gun straddles. Folds all the way to me in the big blind with ace-3 of hearts. And I decide to just complete, expecting him to raise a lot. He does. He makes it 40, and as I plan to do, I call. So with 80 in, it comes 10-7-5 with 2 hearts. Now my plan here was to go for the check raise. But, as the Chinese proverb states, you can only check raise when your opponent bets. The turn is an offsuit 9, and I try for the check raise again, and this time he bets. He makes it 45. Now, I obviously have the best draw here, and there's a decent chance in a heads-up pot like this that I have the best hand as well. And if he does have a big raise, though, it would be nice to get a fold out of him. So I make it 100 more, and he pretty quickly tosses his hand away. Then a Philadelphia Phillies fan sits down at the table and tells them that a pro from Reno is here. He at first did not believe me when I told him that I was still a news anchor. Then I raised ace-king to 30 and 3 guys limp called. I ended up check folding a queen-9-3 flop, but the point is, it kind of felt like the game was getting better, which takes us to this hand. +2 opens to 15, and I 3-bet to 45 in the cutoff with jacks. Big blind cold calls, and the original raiser completes. So with 135 in, the flop is slightly above average. Jack 4-4, 2 clubs. Big blind checks. +2 leads out for 45, and I decide to slow play this bad boy. Then the big blind check raises to 165, forcing +2 out of the pot. I figured I'd go ahead and stick with my slow play here, as back raising just looks so strong. It's ridiculous, and it's such a rare play that it really sets off a lot of alarms in your opponent's head when you do it. Now, if he has a 4, it doesn't matter. But if he has anything else, I don't want to tip him off to how strong my hand is, because I 3-bet pre-flop, pretty unlikely I have a 4. With 510 in, the turn is the deuce of spades, and as I expected, he flips in the last $316 he's got in front of him, giving us an $1,142 pot after I make the call. He did not end up having a 4. He had pocket kings that he slow played it pre-flop, and it blew up in his face. So we go from being down huge to only being down $150. But that takes us to this hand. We get a $15 open from the hijack and pocket 8s on the button. I sometimes will call here, and I sometimes will 3-bet it. I had a really good image after winning that last pot, so I decide to go for the latter. I make it 45, and the big blind who has me covered 4-bets to 140. My initial plan was to fold to this 4-bet. But then, something interesting happens. The hijack jams all in, and I hadn't even noticed how short his stack now was. It's only $160. So I figure now I'm getting a really good price on this set mining operation. It's going to cost me $115 more, which I proceed to put into the pot. Big blind obviously complete, so with $485 in, my set mining operation is successful. Queen, 8, 6, 2 hearts. The big blind comes right out and blasts this thing for $200. And I'm not going to waste time. I'm going to raise it right now. I double the bet to 4. I was not at all surprised when he immediately jammed all in, and I decided to snap call. It gives us about a $2,700 pot, and he shows the one hand in the deck that I can't beat. Pocket queens giving us one of the most brutal coolers I've faced all year. I don't want to bitch. I know I was on the right side of that straight flush over straight flush cooler, but still, it was rough. I decide to rebuy. I grind for 3 more hours and do end up recovering a good chunk of the money I lost in that hand, which turned a disastrous day into, well, just a bad day. All right, in for about $2,300 and out for just over $1,700 for a $586 loss here at Lucky Chances. One of the most brutal coolers of the year for me there, no doubt about it, but still able to claw back and win a decent amount of that back, and a pretty decent game, but man, the rake here is rough to overcome, that's for sure. The games aren't really good. But the main reason why I'm on this trip was not to play poker. Some of you probably already know what I'm getting at, but that's where we're going next.
Get to making with jive, boy, say shine. When it hits you, yes, indeed, yes, yes, you shine. When it hits you, yes, indeed, yes, yes. When it hits you, yes, indeed, yes, yes, you shine. When it hits you, yes, indeed, yes, indeed.
All right, AT&T now Oracle Park. And what better way to forget about a massive set-over-set cooler than to check out my favorite band of all time. It's Green Day. And my second favorite band of all time is Fall Out Boy. Now, Green Day's had that title for the past 27 years. They've never relinquished the favorite band title. Fall Out Boy had to come from behind to get to number 2. But I'm seeing them both tonight, along with Weezer, who I also like a lot, at the Hell Omega Tour. And pretty badass. I still can't believe it. It feels like yesterday. My buddy Larry and I, we were almost in these exact same seats in September of 2005, seeing Green Day then. Back here again, it doesn't get much better than this. The concert was one of the best I've ever been to. Hard to beat my 2 favorite bands at my single favorite venue. I even found the perfect parking spot right here with the meters on Bryant Street, right next to this Bay Bridge on-ramp. As for the show, it was me and B this time. It started off with Weezer, who, despite me not having any of their albums, I still like a lot of their stuff. Then it was Fall Out Boy. The song Sugar We're Going Down always reminds me of my pizza delivery days back from 2003 to 2007. And this may sound stupid to some of you, but I think that's kind of where I developed my killer instinct when it comes to outworking other people for cash. In that case, it was tips. But I knew back then if I knew the streets better, I moved faster, I operated more efficiently than the other drivers, I could make more money in tips than them, and I usually always did. It's similar to how I feel if I study poker harder and work harder and just grind it out more than other people, I can show a profit there as well. Just a quick aside that I thought about during that concert. Then it was Green Day, the main event. You can't be a bigger fan of Green Day than I am. Now, given that, a number of their biggest songs, Time of Your Life being the most egregious example, are actually not my favorite Green Day songs. Now, I still like them a lot and love hearing them live, but they didn't do a lot of the songs that I was really hoping to hear them do in this concert. Now, they did save two of my absolute favorites for the very end in Still Breathing and Jesus of Suburbia. So a brutal cooler earlier in the day, but a fantastic concert. We make the trip back across the Bay Bridge, stay the night in Oakland before heading back to Reno the following day. All right, we started doing this recently. The question of the week. We put them at the end of the vlog, so if you're only here for the hands, you don't have to hang around for this part. But we try to find something interesting asked by one of you, and we discuss that here. And this week's question of the week comes from Scott H. And he says, Ben, been with you from day one. Quick question. Is I have just two local home game options. One game, straight no limit hold'em with a bunch of nits. The other is dealer's choice with wild games and action with half nits and half calling stations. I try to alternate the games weekly. For what it's worth, I use a bankroll tracker app, and I'm more profitable over the last 2 years in the nitty game. But let's be honest, dealer's choice game is consistently much more fun. Which would you pursue more consistently and why? Well, Scott, it's an interesting question. And I want to start off by saying this. Back in 2009, here's how dumb I was. And I've heard others say similar things to this, but when I started playing poker, I spent the first year and a half or so strictly thinking about, okay, this is about how good I am. I have to be the best I can be. It's all about my own skill. And if I'm going to be a winning player, that is what it's going to come down to. I spent all that time not even considering the importance of game quality, of who my opponents are, to my outcome as a poker player. I strictly focused on myself. And those of you who play in Reno will get a kick out of the fact that I definitely remember the day when it really changed for me. And that was when, I think it was in March of 2011, I want to say it was on table 8 at the Atlantis Poker Room, or whatever that front table is, the table where the game usually isn't, because it still stands out to me, where I sat on the direct left of former local legend, Hurricane Bob. Now, Hurricane Bob is a first ballot Hall of Famer. And of course, when I say that, I don't mean that he's an all-time great player. You know what I mean if you've been with this vlog and I talk about first ballot Hall of Famers. And it was then that I learned the value of playing in the best game. And I guess to answer your question, Scott, it comes down to, what do you want out of poker? Do you want to have the most fun you can possibly have? Or do you want to make the most money that you can possibly make? Now, some people can't always admit to the truth there, but everyone has their own reasons. For me, I play for money. You know, working a local television job, before that local radio, I made even less money, so I've always done it as a way to try to supplement my income in whatever way I can. Sometimes it's gone better than other times, but that's always been my goal. So to answer your question, if I were you, I'd be playing in the game where I make the most money. If I'm looking to have the most fun, well, I'll go play Assassin's Creed 3 on the PS4.